Good morning, traders, and welcome to the very last Pirate Traders Morning Show. I'm joined today by Dee. How you feeling, Dee?
I'm feeling great. How's everybody doing?
You were supposed to say I'm broken up about the end of this.
Well, I am. I actually really am. I really enjoy it. I love getting up and like preparing for it. And I love, like, I was so flattered on Wednesday. I got so much love from everybody. I wasn't expecting that. So I am sad, but I know that bigger and better things are coming. So it's not really the end. It's just we're going to figure out new ways of doing things. So
Exactly, yeah.
don't
Speaking of
worry.
which,
We'll
because
be
you
back.
guys had such a big response when Dee mentioned the idea of creating content in the future, she's decided she is going to do it. She's going to make a show where she goes through and does replays of the day and kind of explains what opportunities there were, what she was seeing. But she needs a name for this show. You know, replays with Lady D or whatever. So if you guys have any ideas in the chat throughout the show this morning, we got 32 people hanging out. Let's see if we can get at least 10 or 20 ideas, titles for a show hosted by Lady D. Let us know.
Yeah. And
All
I want
right.
to know who was responsible for naming Lee Lady D. Whoever you are, write it in the checks. I want to know. I think
Yeah, I forget who
it's
that
really
was. That was
cute.
a long time ago. Yeah.
I know.
Um,
All
it's
right.
just so people know, I now call her Lady D when talking to her outside of the show too. It's just, it worked.
And my friends are now calling, like my friends are picking up on it too, so it's really funny.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
It's going to follow you
I
forever.
have like a real screen name now.
You should see if the URL is available. No, actually, Lady D, not a good URL. So, now that I think about it,
It would have
that
a
one's
different
that one's a porn
connotation.
for sure. That's a porn
Not
site.
related to trading.
Okay. All right. Let me get into some TA real quick to let everybody know where we're at for today. So obviously, yesterday did not. If you go back and replay the morning show from yesterday, I started the day by saying we should treat it like a normal FOMC day. Well, it was nothing like a normal FOMC day. Basically, the market opened with a gap up after a spike up the previous day. The market opened with a gap up. We got a gap and go, which turned into a pretty decent trend to the upside. And then when the FOMC started, the market really went nowhere for hours until the very end of the day when it finally made one final little spike to the upside. This is not technically a spike. Technically, for the market to have spiked by definition, we would have to be up here above 6,007. So we are not. We closed below there and we are now below there. So that is the first signal that the market has given us, in the last few days, that momentum might be running out to the upside. Okay. We talked a lot about event volatility. There were a lot of people that had bought puts because of the presidential election. There was a lot of market makers that had hedged those puts. I feel like a lot of that is probably unwound by now. I do think that was part of the momentum that we had yesterday to the upside. So certainly by the end of the day today, that should have completely unwound itself since everything is settled on the event. So yeah, I think we absolutely could keep the momentum going to the upside today. We absolutely could have another higher high today and start trending to the upside. But those are the first signals that we're running out of steam. Another thing that is worth noting is the fact that we now have multiple gaps back to back that are completely unfilled. Okay, we've got the big gap from the day after the election, and we've got the small gap from yesterday. So that's two unfilled gaps. Now, that, again, doesn't mean the market can't keep going to the upside. It absolutely can. But we just want to make note of it. We want to put this in the back of our mind that at some point, this market has to roll over and come back at least for the first gap, if not even to dip into the second gap and retest these balance area highs. So for now, we're seeing momentum. We're assuming that momentum can continue, but we are logging in the back of our mind that we got our first indication momentum is running out, and we do have a reason for the momentum to flip and reverse. Okay. So as far as the way I'm seeing the market at the market open this morning, pretty much to me, the overnight range is the, indicator for today. We've got very insanely strong resistance from the highs. You could consider this a 45-degree angle from the high. The fact that it reversed exactly to a tick at the same level, like 6 times in the overnight market, tells us that this is machines. This is bots artificially preventing the market from going any higher. That is bullish news and bearish news at the same time. It is bearish news because it means they're trying to force the market lower, but it is bullish because it means we have a lot of liquidity up here, right? Anyone that's been shorting all night long, where do they have their stops? Either above the overnight high or above the all-time high from yesterday. So lots and lots of stops up there to take out if the market can get through that 45-degree angle, which will act as resistance. So I suspect if we are going to make a move to the upside today, it's going to take a lot of grinding and poking and fighting to get through that overnight range. But as soon as we get through it, boom, the market can make a big move. Okay? As far as momentum to the downside is concerned, the overnight low to me is the sort of true sign of momentum lower. So if we dip down and reverse, no big deal. If we dip down below the overnight low, and we get new selling there, then we're looking for the market to head back and try to fill the gap. Okay? So a look below and fail of the overnight low would actually be bullish to see and a sign we still have momentum up. But either way, I suspect it's going to be choppy getting through this overnight range. I think the NQ is basically doing the exact same thing. Yeah, their overnight explored slightly higher prices, which makes this a weak high because all-time high made in the overnight, but we also have that 45-degree angle. So if they're going to get back up there again, they're really going to have to fight and chop and poke to get through that resistance. But if they do, to the moon. What are your thoughts, Lady D?
Yeah, so I have a lot of things I just wanted to show everybody today since Monday, over the past few days, some trade ideas, and also on the NQ, I'm a little bit concerned about the fact that on the NQ did have this, it could be a look above and fail. And also the fact that this spike, they did try to spike this up at the end of the day, and they really couldn't get above the value area. So I have some longer term charts we're going to look at in a minute on that. And also, like Charles said, the fact that we have 2 gaps that haven't been filled yet, that could, that's just something we keep. It's one of the data points we talk about when chunking information and analyzing the market, is keeping all these little data points in the back of your mind. So today, I'm cautious, and I want to share these charts with you, and I want to tell you why. So, yeah. Here is my 30-minute chart. I did this morning, and I just wanted to point out to everybody today that this is on the 30 minutes, so it's a longer term time frame. And every time we came to this level, we had, I wouldn't say rejection, but there were sellers up here. So as you can see, sellers, big down candle, sellers, and then now we've retraced just a little bit. But that doesn't mean, exactly as Charles said, that we can't. I mean, now we have a reversal pattern a little bit before the open down here. So we could, obviously the momentum can't keep going. But I just wanted to show you this on the 30-minute chart, that there is reason to just be careful going long up here, because it's 3 times gone to that level and been rejected. So I'm just watching that today. And then also on the, let's see, this is the 15-minute time frame. The exact same thing I just showed you on the 30-minute time frame. You can see there's so much more noise. It's a little bit harder to pick up. But even on the 15-minute, I marked this level on my charts. That's with my ray line here, and rejection. Tried to go higher, couldn't do it. It retraced. Yesterday, I was really waiting for a breakout, actually, of this level. We just didn't get it. So I'm just going to be very cautious today. That's all. Also, we did tap this level 3 times on the 15-minute and couldn't get above it. So I think Charles is exactly right in his assessment that if we are going to go higher today, which is an absolute possibility, but it's definitely going to have to grind quite a bit. So those kinds of days, and I have noticed in the past with my trading, can be very frustrating. So for me today, I'm going to trade with smaller size, and I'm going to just be cautious when we get up to that level. I'm going to wait for the breakout, and I'm going to wait for the retest. I know we've been we've been talking about that a lot the past few weeks. That what is the smartest way to trade if you want to not have to take too much of a drawdown before the trade works? Just wait for the retest. That's what I've been doing. It's been working out great. Let's see what was on this. Okay. So also I wanted to show you from yesterday a couple flag patterns that if you had trouble getting in at the beginning on the trend, because it seemed like unbelievable that this market was going to, again, single print in the period straight to the upside without any retracement at the open. There was one flag pattern that developed between like 8:30 and 9:30 here that if you had traded this breakout, this inside the circle, that's the profit you could have made. So that was one good trade you could have had for the day. And then I wanted to just show you the example of this other flag because this is one that didn't work out. This flag was forming all afternoon. We were waiting for the breakout and it just, that's when we got to this level that I keep mentioning about it just had trouble getting above that level. So I wanted to show everybody that. And then also I wanted to show it to you on my window trader chart. Some of these flag patterns that have formed since Monday. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back all the way to Monday here. Okay. So Monday was the day where we were, it was like kind of really frustrating. I think people were waiting for the information on the election. Really, the market was just rotational. But I just want to point something out that I noticed. This is like a massive, consolidation pattern right here. And I find it very interesting that on the 5th, when we opened, the market was consolidating. I think people were accumulating positions. And here we had, again, volume overnight, a lot of volume here. And that's exactly where the market, the bottom of the next day was, and that up move began. Okay, so how could we have traded on that day? There's a couple flag patterns I wanted to point out to you. There's this one, which I think is really important. Again, it was consolidating. We had a prominent POC that's like 6 or more TPOs on the same level. And you can see it did break out of that candle. This would have been a trade. You could have gotten this move at the end of the day. But in my mind, that was bullish for a breakout. And that's exactly what happened. And that's exactly what we got. So overnight, we got this huge gap that formed in the overnight, right? That was the breakout. And then I think the 6th, this is the election day. And I think I've mentioned this before. It took me a while. I struggle sometimes on trend days because sometimes I can't believe the move. It happened so fast and I hesitate to get in. And I know Charles has been talking about this. Like on trend days, you do not want to hesitate. If you see it's bullish, like we talked about this the other day, it's single printed out of the overnight range. And that, that's pretty bullish. So the flag patterns on this day, I just wanted to show you if you wanted to make some small scalping profits. You had this flag. Here's your breakout. And then another flag formed right on top of that. So you had this flag. Oh, wait, no, sorry. And that one, again, these are just consolidation patterns for a bigger move up. Then look what happened the next day. Same thing. Gap up, another big gap. So the momentum is just still there in the market. And we can't deny that. So we have to just be aware of all the momentum. Now, yesterday, the flag pattern looks slightly different. It's more of like a flag like that. And again, my trade of the day was this breakout of that flag. And then just be careful. We do have a lot of time and volume, like Charles said, 45-degree angle up here today. So I'm going to be cautious around that level. But yeah, that's all I got for a couple small scalp trades out of flag patterns all week long. That worked for me. So any questions about that, Charles?
Any questions about that, chat? Let us know. We got lots of random ideas for TV show names. Yeah, so what you're saying is each one of those flag patterns, you were reading it as bullish on each one of those days, and then combining them all together shows you the momentum over the series of days?
Yeah, and also just the trades, because I know people had asked for trade ideas and wanted to know, like, where we take trades. And so I'm just showing them in hindsight if they want to start looking at these flag patterns. When the pole of the flag, like this is considered the flag pole when it's bullish, there's a higher probability if the flag pole is bullish, the breakout is going to be to the upside. Now, of course, they don't always work. There's failed breakouts because a lot of people trade these patterns, and the bigger players know it. So a lot of times it'll fail first, and then it'll turn around and break out. But yeah, because I'm a musician, I see these patterns, and these are patterns that are very easy for me to trade. So I just wanted to share that with people in the chat, or those that were asking last week for trade ideas and questions. Instead of getting in and then stressing out all day, these trades work fairly quickly. You can make a nice scalp of a couple $100 in a few minutes. So these are trades that I'm comfortable taking because like I said, if you have a smaller trading account, you just can't get in trades these days and wait all day for them to work out because the bots are just way too active and they're playing so many games.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just my trade ideas for people that are newer traders that just need small scalps and can become profitable just by literally doing that.
Yeah. You brought up a couple things that I thought were interesting to talk about, which is the first is you brought up chunking, right? Mm-hmm. This is a concept that, we learned from Jim Dalton. That's really a game changer when you're talking about this type of trading, because you're never going to be able to, there's always going to be contradicting information. There's always going to be some things that make the market look like it's going to go up, some things that make the market look like it's going to go down. You're never going to have 100% certainty on anything. So what you're always trying to do is you're trying to just keep stacking pieces of data on top of each other. So this piece of data is bullish. This is bearish. This is bullish. This is bearish. Bullish, 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 bearish. And then you kind of say, okay, I've got all this information in my head. Bigger picture together, is this more bullish or bearish? I think that's such an important concept for traders to carry. For me today, that's why, we both talked about this. Bullish is the momentum, right? Is the fact that the market day after day has been going up. That tells us the highest probabilities that it's going to go up today. But we're chunking the reality that we've got, tough highs we got to work our way through to be able to keep going. And we have weakness below that needs to be repaired, which is why it might not go up. So, yeah, I thought that was great.
Yeah, no, I think that's the biggest lesson for me in trading, that, the more I studied and the more books I read and the more podcasts I watched, the more confused I started getting. So it wasn't until I really kind of simplified things in my own mind. Look, I want to specialize in a few trades that I can master first, instead of trying to trade Forex and trade oil and trade gold. No, I trade only the NQ, sometimes the ES, and I'm mastering a few small trade patterns. And I think I mentioned this, the retest failure. I showed an example of that on Wednesday. Flag breakouts for small scalps, and then the counter option to overnight inventory. Those are my three bread and butter things. And I want to talk about when you mentioned all these data points. I literally had a trading coach who was fantastic, in addition to Jim Dalton, who gave me this chart. And it was like every 30 minutes, every TPO, the A period, the B period, the C period, I had to answer all of these questions, like in this chart, as, is it a wide range for the 30 minutes? Is it consolidating in the B range, or did the B range extend above the A range? Like all of this information to keep you on the right side of the market. So every 30 minutes, I had to stop and fill out all of this information. And then it was really interesting because he also gave me some exercise. He'd be like, okay, go back and look at the last 30 days. And what do you see? And what happens when the initial balance, the A and B period, the first 60 minutes of the trading day, are in a tight range? How many times does that break out into trend day? And how many times does that become rotational? As opposed to when you have a huge IB where the A and B period is just massively wide, go back and study what happens then. And I noticed when I went back and studied the really large IB periods, the market tends to make that massive move in the beginning and then go nowhere the rest of the day. And so those days are tricky too, because as a trader, again, it's like you got to get in really quickly. And if you wait, then you're going to spend the next 4 hours, consolidating, and you're going to get really, really frustrated and make bad decisions and take rogue trades or not really follow your plan. So it's just interesting how all you have to do to be good at this is do a ton of research, ask yourself a lot of questions, devise your plan, and stick to it. So I know today's the last day, and I wanted to leave all of you. I have a quote sitting on my trading desk right here that says, "Train your brain to take one action, train the neural pathways." Like you really want to train your brain to only do what works, and don't try to. When greed takes over, it can kind of cause you to make bad decisions, and that's when people, I think, lose a good amount of money, is when they don't follow their plan. So discipline is the number one thing. Same like that in music. The ones that are the most successful are the ones that practice 7, 8 hours a day for decades, right? So this isn't something that comes super easily. It's not something someone can teach you in a couple days. It's something you have to really find your own path. And I thank everybody for letting me be part of your journey, and you've been a part of the journey on my path to profitability too. So, and Charles, thank you for the opportunity to work with you, and we're going to have new and better things in the future.
The pleasure was all mine, Dee. I'm the one that had all the fun. Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying there. It's as with everything in trading, there are contradictions that seem like they don't make sense, but they do. You know, when it comes to chunking, you're using intuition. You're using, you're letting your brain be creative and make connections and go based off of things like tempo and the feel of the market and what it's doing. And that gives you an edge. But to develop that ability, you have to, like you said, dial in on some very specific things, force yourself to read the market in very specific ways, force yourself to not take actions when you shouldn't, to not be,
Exactly.
like you said today is a day when you see that 45-degree angle above, when you see that unfilled gap below, it doesn't mean you can't trade long. It just means you're going to be more cautious, right? You have to teach yourself today is a day to be cautious. Today is a day to not force trades. And then the more you do that, the more you stay on that straight and narrow path of specific things in specific ways, the more you develop those intuitions and that natural ability.
And I want to also add, the more you get confidence, the
Yeah.
more you take your trade entries, you don't hesitate, you get in exactly when you're supposed to, and it works over and over. Then you have the confidence to just take those trades. It either works or it doesn't. You're not going to get emotional about it. There's that process of it too. It's like become a master of one action before you start trying to do too many things. And that is my greatest advice. And I think it's true of, our teacher, Jim Dalton. He always said this in his intensives. Trading is an art, not a science.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because, Charles, you and I are both artists, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you're a filmmaker, I'm a flute player. So I think there is a certain amount of creativity that is necessary for being able to put all these data points and put them all together to make something that makes sense.
Yeah, that is the big contradiction.
I
Is
mean,
that
you
it's
can
like
get
it is an
so
art, but to learn to play flute, first
Yeah.
you have to learn the proper way to hold your hands. You have to learn how to read the music. You have to learn how to control
breathe.
your breath. You have
Yeah.
you have to start with those basics and do them in an exact right way.
Yeah.
Then you're able to get artistic with it, and trading's exactly the same.
Exactly. I mean, this hit the nail on the head. Hopefully that helps everybody.
All right. Well, we will call it quits now and forever. This will be the last morning show, but as Dee said, it won't be the last you will see of her. It won't be the last you will see of me, certainly. We're going to keep creating more content, putting more stuff out, trying to help you as best we can. We just think we can level up on this format and come up with something better.
Yeah.
All right, Dee, thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Happy trading today.
All right, bye, everyone.
All right. Bye, everybody.